Hi class, this is Kamran Ali. Today I'm going to talk about writing a news release. First of all, we need to understand what is a news release. A news release is a special business report. So let me underline it. A special business report containing information that will be of interest to the public. Now, what might interest the public? The information, right, okay, which is related to key happenings in an organization. All right, so public is not interested in ordinary things, right, happening in an organization. So news releases need to be newsworthy, and they got to be accurate. They should not be manipulated one. They should actually present the reality or share the information or the things as they have happened. The news release is to be timely, issued, is to be timely released. Why? Because if something which has happened and that was to be informed about, immediately, right, and that actually reached late to the public, right, then it's not at all, worth sharing, because public might have got, that information from other sources. So this way, rather, the company would, give a bad impression of itself to the public. So it has to be timely released. It got to be concise. People don't have much time. They're busy, right? So you do not have to give, irrelevant details, the details which are actually not, related to the issue, right? It has to be positive. That means it must build a positive image of the company. Now, the common subjects for news releases may include employee hires. For example, you're running an organization and Shahid Afridi joins your organization. Now, this is a big news, right? So that is to be shared through a news release. Then, if someone has been promoted to a key position, right, that is to be, of course, to be informed to the public, because they would come to know who they are going to, to communicate, right? Okay, in case they need to discuss an important matter. All right, okay, or they need to, show their concerns or complaints or whatsoever. All right, then if the company has been achieving a lot, okay, and that is worth mentioning, and so a press release can be written and sent to the media to build a good image of the company. Business expansion, right, for the same reason, the company will be sharing about the business expansion, because this will, give a good impression of the company to the people. Employees layoff. Now, this is a little tricky, because I said that, you have to have positive image of the company. So now firing someone off, is not at all a good thing, right? Okay, it cannot be taken as a good piece of news now, or it cannot be taken as something positive. But in what case it could be a positive thing? Right? For example, if an employee has been engaged in illegal activities or activities which actually have damaged the organization's reputation, and if that employee is being fired, then his news of being fired, right, got to be shared with the public, so the organization could actually restore its reputation. So in that case, it's the news may be bad, right? The issue is bad, but it's building, the good reputation of the organization. Then comes product recalls. So what is a product recall? Actually, a product recalls means that you have supplied defective products, in the market, right? And you realize it, once this has been done. Now you want your customers to return the product, and you want to give, compensation for the problem they have faced. In that case, you're going to, of course, send a news release, okay, mentioning that the product, or you're requesting that the product should be returned and a compensation would be made. And finally, we have got a very important type of a news release, and that is introduction of a new product. Many companies, when they launch a new product, right, they send a news release to the media, and actually this way they give the impression that whatever is being, discussed regarding the product, right, uh, is actually accurate, right? Because it doesn't have the element of subjectivity, because this is something which is being written by the media, right? Which is being, which is being written by the media, because the thing has been very popular with the media or the people from the media, and so they are sharing, a story about it, right? So this what actually a news release does. Now let's see how we are going to write one. Let me change the slide first. Okay, here we are. Let me create the drawings. Okay. When we're writing a news release, we got to use inverted pyramid format. Now, what is this and what does it mean? Let me draw here a pyramid. I'm not good at drawing, but I hope you will figure out what I'm trying to make you understand. Sorry, I have drawn this one wrong. Let me clear it. Now, this is a normal pyramid, right? And if I just invert it this way, you can see that now we have more room to give information on the top, whereas in this case, we have less room to give information on the top, and we have more room to give information at the end. Now, this means the first paragraph in the pyramid format should sum up or should give the summary of all the key aspects being discussed in a news release, right? And it should cover who, what, where, when, all reporting questions, okay, and sometimes even why or how, right? And why this should be done, this I explain you later, but first you really need to understand that the introductory paragraph should give the main idea of the press release, okay? And then comes, the body of the release, and in which you actually give details, and the details, the details, are shared in descending order of importance. That means the information which you believe is the most important one should come first, right? Now, this actually has some advantages, this pyramid format. Organizational pattern respects both news agency personnel, this organizational pattern, right? Who will cut material from the bottom to meet space constraints. Now that means that if the agency decides to cut some material because there's not enough space, right? And if you have used the normal pyramid format, right, the agency is going to cut from the bottom. So in that case, you will lose more information, right? Okay, on the other hand, if you have used inverted pyramid, the chances are that you will lose less information, and this will make his task easier. Another important reason for using inverted pyramid format is that people don't have much time to read. So they would like to read the important aspects, in the first paragraph and figure out what it is all about, and so they could, carry on whatever they want to, right? So these are two advantages which you really need to keep in mind when you're using inverted pyramid format. If your release is to encourage people to attend an event, present information about location, day, date, time, and cost early in the message, including a quote from someone associated with the announcement or event, creates interest and gives the news items a personal touch. Of course, when you're sharing an interesting story, and if there are quotations by, the main characters which are real characters, right? Because nothing is going to be fictional, when you're writing a news release, right? So it adds to the credibility. It draws readers interest, right? Okay. And the reader reads it's like a story. All right, now let's go ahead. Let's see what do we have in the next on the next slide. The news release should be double spaced with the company's name and address keyed on or printed at the top. The contact person's names and telephone number also should be on the news release. Special instructions. Why special instructions? Because let's suppose if you want, some important information to reach, immediately to the public, right? Because the change is really impactful, right? In that case, you must mention that this is for immediate release. And in case you want your news release to be published, on a particular date, because the information is related to that, the information has some sort of association with that, right? And then you must mention the date. All right, and should be keyed in all capital letters at the top. Notations such as photo attached should be placed after the text. Give each release a title appropriate to the content. If it's a recreational event or recreational thing, then you can use, a funny, lively title as they've given over here an example for that. But if it involves a merger, a promotion, or a product recall, it requires definitely more professional, serious business-like title. The city, state, and date should precede the text on the first line of the body, placing the notation 30 or 3 hashtags beneath the last line, and the text informs the news agency that the release is complete. So once it's done, you got to either place this thing or this thing, right? Okay. And if it's more than one page, you're going to write more on each page to indicate that it is still continuing. Okay, now let me clear the markings first. Clear all drawings. All right, it's a paragraph which comes after the body paragraph, and what its name, it is called a boilerplate. Now, what happens here? Here, you're not going to talk about the issue which you have discussed, in the earlier paragraphs of a news release, right? Here, you're going to talk about the organization itself. It's maybe a little bit of its history, some key accomplishments, okay, the staff it is comprised of, and all that, right? Means not what sort of staff, but the numbers, of the staff and all that. So you just sum up, some important, information, right? Okay, and to give the overview about the company, to give the overall impression of the organization. Now, let's suppose in earlier paragraphs you wrote about or you have written about, a particular product, right? Because you that actually is that press release is about launching a product. So in the first paragraph you have written the features of the product, okay, the main features, you have summarized them. In the second paragraph you have given more details about that. Then in the boilerplate right here in this paragraph, right, you're not going to talk about or discuss, that product's features anymore. Rather, you're going to give information about the organization. You may be talking about or writing about, other product ranges, right? You may be writing about number of employees. You may be writing about any other significant information, any other significant, thing which goes to, the organization's credit, right? And finally, We have got call for action. Simply tells us where more information about the news can be obtained from. This usually comes after the boilerplate. Now here, what you do that give the contact numbers, email addresses, and names of the designators whom people can inquire if they need any information, or media can contact to extract more details, right? I hope since you have understood, stay home, stay blessed, have a nice time, and if you have any query, you can ask me about it during my online lectures. Thank you.